Jake, it is so nice to be sitting here with you. Thank you so much for taking the time. I can't explain how much I appreciate it, so thank you very much.
No problem.
I want to start off talking about the Management Trust.
Sure.
It's a company that you co-founded. I want to know what made you get into that side of the industry.
I don't know, but if I find the guy, I may kill him.
A love-hate relationship?
Oh, you know, it's like anything. I started as a manager before I formed the Management Trust with my partner Alan back in '81. And it was a friend of mine was in a band. He was a drummer in a band called the Purple Hearts. And he said to me, "You should be our manager." And I said, "Well, I don't know anything about it." And he said, "Don't worry, you'll be good."
Cool.
So I guess he was right.
Well, you definitely, I mean, the artists that I've seen you work with and that I've had the pleasure of speaking with, you definitely can tell that you have an ear to know what other people are going to enjoy listening to. What do you look for in a band to manage?
I think for me personally, it has to have that certain thing that, you know, I have to like it. And I've turned down acts that have gone on to become very successful just because it wasn't something I liked. So it's not just about the money. There are some companies that take on anything that they can make money on, and maybe it's something I should be doing, but it's not really something I can enjoy, so I don't.
So is it all a matter of not necessarily whether or not you believe this act can make it or not, just how much you enjoy the music itself and how it moves you?
Well, it's both, because there are a lot of music. There's a lot of music I really like, but I know is extremely niche, and I know it's not going to have a commercial viability. So I don't necessarily get involved with that kind of music. So it has to be both. It has to have some commercial viability, and it can be a long-term commercial viability, but it also has to, and it has to be able to move people, but it also has to be something I enjoy, because, you know, I'm very hands-on, go to a lot of the shows, spend a lot of time with my clients, so it's got to be something, I have to like the people too. Has to be a real work ethic involved with the people. You know, I go into work every day, I'm working all the time, and I expect the same from the people I work with. You know, I always say they should care more about their career than me, so they should be putting in a lot of ways, way more effort than me.
Right. And being able to spend more time with your clients, is that why your roster list isn't as long as it maybe could be?
I tend to try and keep it at 3 or 4 at the most. I'm looking at a few different opportunities right now to add another client to the list, and I also manage some producers. But I recently did a deal with Rock Paper Management with Mark and Roland, who have a company, and I became partners in their company, and they work out of the Management Trust. And they manage 5 different DJs and a hip-hop artist, and so that's how I'm expanding the company, is mentorship and working with younger managers and teaching them the business and offering my insights and my connections and my contacts to allow them to grow.
And when you go with younger people like that, is it sort of an eye-opener for you as well? You're learning a little bit more about how the younger generation is seeing things, or are you just taking them on to mentor them?
No, it's both, without a doubt. Like we're actually doing some cool things together. You know, I'm much more about the big picture stuff and being able to make a phone call when they need something to get done, and teaching them more about how to run a business and things like that. But there's a lot of stuff that they're doing that we're utilizing with some of my clients, especially the social media stuff, where I've always been involved in online marketing and always been involved in doing things in the internet. You know, I had the Tragically Hip, we were online in 1994 when people, even the record companies, didn't have websites.
You're on what?
Yeah, exactly. But you know, the guys I'm working with their whole business model is based around that. So we're learning from each other. It's a good thing.
Now, to talk a little bit about Tragically Hip, you basically gave them their start. You know, I'm sure they did lots and lots of legwork working up to get their tape to you. But what was your first reaction when they sent you this tape from Kingston, Ontario?
Well, you know, my partner Alan had received it because it was a friend of his brother-in-law was a friend of the band's back in August of '86, and he called me and he says, "Hey, I heard this tape. I got to play it for you." And that was like on a Friday, and then that Sunday we got together and he played it for me, and then we both went, "Yeah, this is really interesting." And we set up a gig, and 30 seconds into the first song, we looked at each other and I was like, we got to sign these guys tonight, and we literally signed them that night. So yeah, they had actually been a band for about 2 years prior to that, but not in the same lineup. Paul Langlois joined the band I think about a month before we saw them. So the lineup that we saw was basically a month old, but 4 of the guys were the same, as been around for 2 years, and so they're in their 30th year now as a band with that name.
That's pretty impressive too, though, right? I mean, for a band to come to you with some guys that have only been in for a month, you know, you hear of people going 10 years before they make it, we'll say.
Yeah, but we didn't know that when we saw them, and you know, the band was based on friendship. You know, they were 5 guys who were friends from Kingston, and that's why they're still together.
And knew what they're doing. Yeah,
but, you know, they just had that thing. There was a connection. I've always said that there seems to be especially with bands, that there seems to be a real connection, a real sense of self for bands that come from smaller towns, because they're not really exposed to a lot of other things being in the small town, so they tend to hone their own thing on their own without those other influences. So their influences are from, now it's probably a little different now because the internet, you know, you have access to everything, where, you know, back in the 80s, you know, like basically you had, you know, music television and that was it, and even that was early. But if you look at some of the greatest bands in the world, they didn't really come from big cities. They came from smaller places where the band stuck together because they were friends, and they, you know, I remember there was one time where we were talking to a record company in the early years, and there was an executive from the company said that they didn't think the drummer was in the band and the hip was good enough, and the guys in the band said, yeah, but you know, it works for us, and besides, he makes us laugh. And you know, Johnny was always really good, but he actually probably in terms of his craft worked harder than anybody on, you know, trying to get better all the time and taking lessons, and it wasn't that he thought that he wasn't as good, it's just that was his work ethic. So.
And you've mentioned before that with that band in itself, you sort of found the it factor that you always hear people talk about. How would you put the it factor into words now?
You really can't put it into words because it's a feeling. You know, it's something that and it could be different for everybody. You know, everybody has a certain thing that moves them when they see it. And for me, it's always been, you know, it's an involuntary response. Is it something, does the particular art, and it goes across the board for any kind of art, whether it's painting or dance or theater or film or anything else, does it make you feel something that you didn't feel before you were exposed to it? And is that feeling something that made you, that felt good? And that's kind of how it works for me. Is it doing something to me that makes me want to get up and go, yeah, this is it, you know?
And does it ever matter to you what style it is? I know we talked a little bit about how, you know, if you're not feeling it, it's not somebody you're going to manage. But do you listen to everything from rap to country to reggae? Well,
I kind of know what I'm good at. So I've never really worked with pop artists. So I tend to work more with singer-songwriters and rock bands, just because it's kind of my wheelhouse. But not that I don't appreciate the other kinds of music, and I listen to other kinds of music regularly, but I wouldn't say that that's sort of where my expertise lies.
I like your expertise. I think you're doing all right the way you're doing it.
Thanks.
Now, you were in Vancouver with Scarlett Jane this past weekend. They were doing a show for Shorefest at Celebration of Light. I know you're coming back in September with Adam Cohen. Can you tell us a little bit about that show?
Well, Adam's doing a small little place, the Media Club, on September the 10th. He's doing 5 shows prior to 2 big festivals, and it'll be the first 5 shows of him playing with his lineup and playing the new album. The album comes out 15th of September and 16th. They have new release dates now, so digital comes out on Mondays and physical comes out on Tuesdays. Okay. So and that's just a recent thing. So so he'll be doing 5 shows. He's doing 3 nights in Halifax in a small venue, then a night in Calgary at a small venue, and then the Media Club. And then on the 11th he'll be in September, he'll be in Rifflandia in Victoria. And then 2 days later he's playing Ottawa Folk Festival, and then the following week the record comes out. So this is all about, you know, setting up the record, playing for media, playing for the hardcore fans, and getting the band ready to go on tour.
And he's got an event coming up in London, and that's strictly for media, right?
It's media and friends and record company, and you know, we did a little contest for some of the fans in London, so for 20 people could get in. It's a small little place. It holds like 70 people, so it's going to be pretty tight and crazy.
Good. Well, I hope you have fun. I do have one more question. Normally I ask about your socks. You have a bit of a sock story.
I don't wear them.
Yeah, no, why?
Because I don't wear them after May 15th.
And that's just sort of a stand up to weather, right? Mother Nature?
That's just like winter's done, whether winter likes it or not. So
fair enough.
May 15th, the socks come off, except when I play tennis. Okay. You have to wear socks when you play.
I'm really happy to hear that.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you so much, Jake.
Thank you. Yeah. It doesn't mean that I would not wear them at another time.
So during the winter, these can be...
Or you never know, I could be in London, it could be raining really hard, and I may need some socks. And these are socks that I may actually... is this a pair?
It's a pair that I made.
Oh, I see. There's probably another pair just like them somewhere
There
else.
very well may be.